the place where the night Formula 1 racing all began all 17 years ago. It's time to do the race introduction for the Singapore Grand Prix in Singapore. Oh yay! The place where, of course, Ferrari always wins and where we've won in total 4 times, where I've also tasted the success a solitary time, and we are definitely, going to go for it because, of course, as you know, this will be the first proper race in the autumn, the fall season, and basically all of the standings is up for the grabs. It will be pretty much decided in the season before the Christmas and the summer comes in. So over here we will be heading pretty much, to the equator, to the city state of the Singapore, and in this exclusive race reaction, we will tell you everything about the race. We will also tell you about the program, what to expect. We will take a look at it, the track. Of course, if you want to see the actual track, this is one of the 4 tracks of this 24 race calendar that we've actually been to. So definitely do check out my YouTube channel to see, for example, how the Singapore looks like, the boat during the day, and of course at night when the race will take place, as that clock, the Tag Heuer clock, will go to the 8 p.m. local time. And we definitely do hope that Scuderia Ferrari, we will plant it on the pole position. Obviously we've been on the pole here 7 times, so this is quite a successful race, because obviously we do know that the Singapore has been run, I believe that this should be the 16-17 edition. So overall we also finished on the podium 10 times. So I think there's a great chance over here, to finally return back to the podium ways, not to have a botched races like we had, for example, last time out, in Baku, that really did not suit us. And remember, Singapore is basically like Monaco at night, right? There will be lots of the twisty turns, and I do believe that this is one of the tracks that will suit us. In fact, I believe that this month of October could be perfect for Scuderia Ferrari, because if you think about it, last 2 years we've managed to win Singapore in 2023 courtesy of Carlos Sainz, and last year, of course, we won the United States Grand Prix, of course, courtesy of the Monaco Prince Charles Leclerc, and of course, Sainz has won the Mexican Grand Prix. So these races that you can see on the beautiful 2025 FIA Formula 1 calendar there to my right, they should actually really suit us. In fact, I would say ever since Monza, pretty much since Zandvoort after the summer break, just like our board of directors were hoping for, we should be very, very competitive, but so far we haven't really been able to deliver and to convert some great results, for example, from the free practices, especially into very strong qualifying and especially into dominant race performances. So we will take a look at what that leaves us with in the driver standings and in the constructor standings, because obviously, as you probably do know, due to the results in the Baku Grand Prix, the Constructors' Championship is going to go here to Singapore, and again, there is again a huge gap that we have to McLaren, but definitely if they do not score anything, and we score a 1-2, then it's gonna go to the north and hopefully to the South America. So nothing is lost yet, at least not mathematically. We will then also talk about how successful I was over here, right? Yeah, the Solid champion, because actually that Singapore, it should be not such an easy circuit, obviously, as you probably do know. I've never won Monaco, I've never won Baku, but I won Singapore, and I'm sure with these super grippy 2024 cars, I'm also gonna be back to the winning ways, right? That's right, because after 2 bit unlucky races in Baku and especially in Monza, it's time for me to return to the top step of the podium, which would then leave me pretty much going for the World Championship also in the month of October and at the Circuit of the Americas. So over here, let's start our race introduction. Over here, as we are nicely laminated here, we could say, by the Ferrari SF1000T in 1.8 Formula 1 Racing Simulator and the Scuderia Red Retina iMac. Let's start with that weekend schedule. So with regards to any news that we have, pretty much I guess the drivers, it's getting a little bit tense, especially in the drivers championship, right? So everybody kind of wants to make sure that you are ready for that final stretch of the season. 2026 is also on the horizon, so it's a that kind of calm before the storm, I would say. Calm before the winning storm of Scuderia Ferrari, right? Of course. So this is gonna be the fourth race in a row after the summer break. All of these 10 races are run in the exact same format, which I absolutely love. So you will see this race introduction 24 hours before the free practice starts, and during the free practice one, you will then see the hot lap, which I will do with pretty much the title-winning F1 24 cars. I think you can already see it, as you are obviously supporting really well. Jan de Smalik's champion on his journey towards my fourth Formula One World Championship, and free practice too. We'll then see the new F1 25 the hot lap. So we will show you obviously how the track is probably going to look like. It's big reprofiled for the past couple of years, and I think that new format, especially the new track layout, is so successful that I believe Singapore will keep it probably permanently. I definitely would be for it. Then on Saturday, when the free practice 3 starts, we will take a look at the red hot lap, and then of course the qualifying. Once the 20 fastest drivers in the world, vie for the exclusive Singapore pole, which I've gotten on one great occasion, then, I will be aiming to get it for the second time. And then once the Grand Prix starts, I will also release the clutch, hopefully from the pole position, to go for my second Singapore Grand Prix victory, which will then leave us, of course, with the race direction, hopefully to the first win for Scuderia Ferrari this season, 24 hours after that Singapore GP is finished. So, with regards then to the track, right? So, with the Singapore, it is twisty, lots of turns, obviously, and quite a lot of DRS zones as well. In fact, there should be 3 DRS zones, but again, things can change because, as you do know, the overtaking has been the issue, surprisingly, in Baku, right, with that long straight over here. So you will see that some of the DRS zones might be reprofiled a little bit. So over here, before, of course, you watch it in the 24 hours, in the hot lap that I will do in my Formula One, the Scuderia Ferrari Racing Simulator. Let's turn around this Scuderia Red Retina IMAX so that we can see exactly how the track looks like, what to look for, and especially how successful we are here, because this is at least after the summer break, this should be this our second most successful track, obviously, after our home race in Monza. So over here, great piece of technology, this red Retina iMac. I definitely do recommend everything is being made in a red color. It just makes it look so beautiful. Now here, so let's take a look exactly. You will be starting pretty much right up here, right? And the great thing is, when we walk the tracks, like we obviously been, to Monaco, right? To Yes Marina circuit, to Circuit de Catalunya, Barcelona, and here, of course, to the Marina Bay Street circuit. You can see everything, on the YouTube, how it actually looks like when you get to the ground level. So here, you will see the grandstand, right? Around it, there is obviously the nice kind of promenade, by the kind of the Singaporean harbor. You will be coming really quickly out of, that Singaporean flyer section. This is the start-finish straight. What a pity we didn't actually get a chance to go on that start-finish straight, because they had some activity, when we were visiting. And then here you will be hitting the speeds of about 300 kilometers per hour. Gonna break into these turns 1, 2, and 3. Obviously, it is very important to ride the curbs high. The grip will be low. God forbid if it's gonna be raining, that could be a carnage. It's just remember what happened in Baku in that qualifying. It was quite incredible. Just how slippery conditions, couple of raindrops could make 7 drivers, for example, end up in a wall, right? Then over here, it is very important to get a good exit, but don't spin it like, for example, Vettel did. And then over here, tackle, as you will see the obviously the Marina Bay Sands Hotel. It is important to get a really good exit, because I would say that probably here is one of the best overtaking spots before the turn 7, right? It does allow you to position your car either to the left or to the right, very quickly down the gears, as you will see. And once you can reclaim the position, then it's just a short burst, second, third gear to turns 8, then 9 over here, as you then heading towards the Anderson Bridge. And obviously the Singapore Sling chicane is gone, but I think it actually makes this section much much more thrilling, and you know, you really have to be brave to attack it because the wall is so close. You gotta be approaching it at like 250, 60 kilometers per hour, and you gotta just simply go 7/4 gear, right? You know, throw it around, unlike you know when you were supposed to always kind of jump or fly over these Singapore sling curves, because that is a Singapore sling, just you know, down the river, where you can, for example, go kind of on that free fall bungee jumping kind of like activity. And then over here you will then go around the Anderson Bridge. It's very important to tackle that turn 11, but be careful with that curb. And then here, you know, the speed, this is the Anderson Bridge, is absolutely amazing because that will lead you, the Singaporean line is here, the esplanades are here, right, the Marina Bay Sands, so it nicely opens up over here. And once you go on the esplanades, right, which is basically this great, you know, a huge long section of the road where, for example, you know, the actual road for the motor vehicles and for the pedestrians is nicely, you know, divided, right, by you know, the vegetation. It's a great place, you know, to see you know, the most beautiful pictures that we've taken of Singapore are from here. And you know, you will think, is it a good opportunity, you know, just because it is again so slippery as you come out of that Anderson Bridge, and of course, you know, in front of that Singaporean line, which is a little bit beneath you. There's a little traction, so not so much overtaking spot, but here, you know, you can a little bit open it up. Would have pity that that orange Lando Norris didn't hit the wall over here. Otherwise, we would have been celebrating a victory last year. And then here, I do believe once they reprofile the section heading into the overpass highway, you are able to overtake into turn 16, and hopefully, if I will need that during the race, you know, that's where you know, I will be reclaiming that lead, right? And then over here you go around the Singaporean Flyer, you know, very, very slippery with the turns. Actually, you can always, you know, walk the track over here and you can feel the surface quite abrasive, which means that there will be several pit stops, especially with the higher track temperatures, so we really cannot wait. And just be careful over here in the turns, don't make a mistake like the Carlos Sainz did. You know, we didn't fire him because of that, but hey, you know, that hugely compromised our race last year. And yeah, I do believe that we can definitely turn it around. We can see that, you know, the race will run over 62 laps, lap record 1 minute 34.486. That's definitely beatable. And yeah, let's see how well we can handle it. You can see over here how lovely, you know, the place looks. This is again taken from the esplanades, right? You know, from the turn, the Singaporean line is a little bit to the right. You can see the Marina Bay Sands, the Singaporean Flyer, and the race actually then starts over here with obviously the botanical gardens. And yeah, it looks really lovely. Now here are our stats. So as you can see, we have won here 4 times, and you know, definitely, you know, we will be aiming for that lucky 5. But you know, most importantly, it would be great to see both drivers, you know, on the podium, and both drivers to have a strong race with 7 pole positions. I wouldn't be surprised if Leclerc or maybe even Hamilton, who has always run strongly here, will put it on a pole position. Only 2 fastest laps. That's surprising because I also don't have a fastest lap over here, but that's usually what can happen at Singapore because the undercut is so powerful in Singapore. So usually, you know, you get some surprises in terms of the fastest lap, but 10 pole positions, that just 10 podiums, that just tells you, you know, that we will definitely be celebrating on that most humid podium of the year. And these will be our competitors in, this is the Drivers' Championship for the 2025 season. You can see Oscar Piastri, despite you know, being in love with the Baku walls, he is leading the championship with 324 points, and he cannot relinquish his lead, even though Lando Norris is exactly 1 race distance behind him. Remember, no extra bonus point for the fastest lap this year. Norris is on 299 points, but yes, obviously he's won 5 races. Piastri has won 7, so you know, that's where he holds the advantage. And you know, most of the, sadly, very, very sadly, most of the races, you know, this year, bar one, have been won by these top 3 races. Third, Max Verstappen, the reigning champion, you know, who still has a chance to win 5 titles in a row. And, you know, that would, you know, equal the only driver who has managed to do it in Formula 1, Michael Schumacher. But I believe with 255 points being 69 points behind, I managed to overhaul that point difference. But, you know, I didn't have only 7 races to go. You know, if you watch my legendary 2016 season, I did manage to overhaul this points lead, but I do expect Red Bull to be very weak over here. Nevertheless, Verstappen has won 4 races, so 16 races basically being won by these 3, and it's time for some fresh blood, isn't there? So over here, who could that be? Could it be for George Russell Mercedes? We certainly hope not. He's on 212 points, the driver who has won a solitary Canadian Grand Prix, obviously, to complete the current winners of the Grand Prix this year. And Charles Leclerc, I think he's the best bet, for Scuderia Ferrari, 165 points. For us, we probably have to admit that 5th and 6th, maybe 4th, 6th, 4th, 5th, if we are lucky, it's probably the best that we can do, because Leclerc is now 90 points behind Verstappen, and he's almost 50 points, 47 behind Russell. That's definitely doable, but yeah, hopefully Charles can make it. And Lewis Hamilton, obviously he's won the sprint, right, in China, and there are lots of sprints coming, so I expect, Hamilton could claw back lots of points. Can he get more than Charles, where, he was marginally quicker in Baku, I would say, which is a bit of a surprise, because Leclerc has been so strong around Baku, 121 points. The 1-2 would help us so much, because if we go down the standing over here, right, so over here we can see 7 is then Andrea Kimi Antonelli, Mercedes, 78 points. You can see strong result, right, getting the 12 points for a 4th place, and look, immediately he's back to 7th. 8, Alexander Albon Williams, 17 points. 9, Isaac Hadjar Racing Bulls, 39 points. 10, Nico Hülkenberg Kick Sauber, 37 points. And then the second, 10th is then Lance Stroll, Aston Martin, 32 points, 11th place. And 12, suddenly, Carlos Sainz, Williams being catapulted by that Baku podium to 31 points. So you can see over here that if all of a sudden, for example, you win the race, right, if you are in the top 6, or you get in a podium, if you are in the remainder of the standings, it can help you out a lot, which is a bit counterintuitive if you think about the fact that the points should make it so that some one lucky result, right, we can call it lucky that Sainz has qualified on pole position for Williams in Baku. Well, pole position on the front row, it shouldn't influence the overall standings, but you can see, for example, if we go next, 13, DM Lawson, Racing Bull, 30 points, but especially 14, Fernando Alonso, very consistent for Aston Martin, 30 points. But you can see pretty much, everybody bar Albon, who's ahead of him, they've gotten either the podiums or really lucky results, like especially with, for example, his teammate Stroll. And as a result, he might have beaten him, in well over 10 races, but he's behind in the standings. 15, Esteban Ocon has 28 points. We will also be competing against 16, Pierre Gasly Alpine, 20 points. 17, Yuki Tsunoda Racing Bulls, 20 points. Okay, he's gotten some points, but is still a disaster, obviously, of a season for Tsunoda, and I don't, expect Red Bulls to be very, very strong, and it will be interesting if he can even get in the remaining pretty much 10 race sessions, 7 Grand Prix and the 3 sprints, can he even get 20 points that he has now? If I was betting, I would bet against that. Then we have 18, Gabriel Bortoleto, the reigning F2 champion, Kick Sauber on 18 points. How convenient is that? And 19, Oliver Berman has been unlucky, he's usually getting better of his teammate Esteban Ocon. He's on 16 points, and I do believe he will not want to be the last classified drivers of, how they call it, the full-time drivers, because 28th, Franco Colapinto Alpine, 0 points, and 21st, Jack Doohan, who won't compete for the Alpine, 0 points. Obviously, they share the seat, and look what a disastrous effect it, of course, had on their overall season performance. So over here, yes, this is how it looks like in the driver standings. Here is the constructor standings. So over here, again, a lot to play for. So for McLaren, 623 points. Will they be celebrating in Singapore? We really hope not. Obviously, it would be a great party for them, but we cannot let them win. Second is Mercedes, 290 points, and we are third. Scuderia Ferrari, 286 points. Hugely unexpected. Obviously, both Benz drivers putting in a great performance, second and fourth. But I believe in Singapore we will claw back that position, and we really have to think about, okay, second is now the target, right? But we cannot have races like we had in Baku and especially in Zandvoort. If we always deliver on our speed, then we will be fine. Fourth, Red Bull Racing, they made up a little bit of the ground, 272 points, but I expect them to fall off. Fifth, Williams, 101 points. So again, for Williams, obviously, this is a breakthrough season. I believe they score more points than in the last, 10 seasons. 6, Racing Bull, 72 points. 8, Aston Martin, 62 points. 9, Kick Sauber, 55 points. Yes, so 8 Kick Sauber 55 points, 9 Haas 44 points, and 10 Alpine on 20 points. So over here, it will be absolutely critical to go for that, first, victory of the season. This was the Constructors' Championship. This, of course, was the Drivers' Championship, and this is the track that we will be competing against, right? And there's, probably, maybe not, nobody better than me, but I have to say that since now I'm really familiar with Singapore. I perform really well over here at this track. As you do know, maybe with the exception of that 2010, the first race when I finished 13. But yeah, I did manage to win the 2016 edition, and obviously I will be aiming for it, right? I have 1 pole position. I have a 1 race victory, so obviously 2 podiums. I finished second also in 2017. Sadly, my engine blew up going, across the Anderson Bridge last year. So we will definitely be aiming over here to finish the race, but again to be going for a victory, which wasn't really on the cards last year. But I believe this year we will be gunning for it. So we have a 1 pole position, 1 race victory, 2 podiums, but 0 fastest laps. And as you know, I've always gotten the fastest lap over here. I'm really aiming, to get to be at least the current fastest lap holder at every Formula 1 track. So definitely Singapore, we have to add it to the collection. I've been close, just a couple hundreds of tenths, on a couple of occasions, I believe, or a couple of tenths on the other occasions. So, it's definitely possible. I will be going for it, and it would be great to leave Singapore with my second win after I set the second pole position to collect the third, obviously, podium, and also my first ever fastest lap over here, as it's becoming one of our favorite tracks over here, the place where Ferrari always wins. In October, again, in the last 2 years, we've always been winning. I cannot tell you how much we would have loved for any of our drivers to win. So everybody, keep on supporting us. I can see, that the lights are, illuminating this lovely Marina Bay Street circuit in Singapore. And I can see the Scuderia Ferrari, being the fastest over here as we shine under the beautiful lights. So everybody, all I can say is, let's buckle up, let's put on our championship helmets, and let's race